Well, Oxfam is a worldwide development organisation that mobilises the power of people against poverty. Well, that's what they say they're supposed to do. But they've entered the new religion of wokeness and are quickly alienating many of their supporters. Let's check it out. So, according to media reports, Oxfam has removed a pride cartoon on social media after they faced a backlash for including an offensive term. The international charity wrote that, quote, "A more equal future is possible when all gender identities and expressions have agency over their lives." This was in a tweet last week, and they released this video. Have a watch of it.
How are you marking Pride Month this year? While LGBTQIA+ people around the world are deprived of basic safety, not protected by laws, preyed on by hate groups online and offline, discriminated against at work, deprived of opportunities and pushed to the margins. But pride can be found etched deeply in the hand of a friend, the hug of a chosen family member, or the safe spaces of a kind community. This Pride Month, we take pride in those who protect and champion safety for LGBTQIA+ people. We all must stand together with queer folks, online, at work, in schools, in sport, through laws, everywhere. We call to protect the pride. Are you with us?
Yeah, so rather than focusing on poverty, they're now pushing a radical sexuality and gender ideology. But you'll note this image. The cartoon character in the original video appeared to resemble J.K. Rowling's usual haircut and style, as well as the green dress she's been pictured wearing, even the memorial poppy that she wore in the real image, which was taken at a 2018 film premiere, but it's replaced with a badge bearing the word TERF, which is a derogatory term. It's short for trans-exclusionary radical feminist. You know, a feminist who believes that only biological women can be women. But Oxfam are doing it in a derogatory way. And on the right of this image, which is the full image, it's what's believed to be the Florida governor and presidential candidate Ron DeSantis. Now, the Family Education Trust in the UK said this. Here's another still from Oxfam's Pride Month video. Clearly, they support puberty blockers, lifelong medication, and unnecessary surgery for healthy children. Drag queens are in there as well. And Peter Linus from the Evangelical Alliance in the UK tweeted this. Oxfam are rightly getting huge pushback for this. The ratio of replies and quote tweets to likes is a good sign. People don't like the video. Look at the demonisation and ageism against the woman labelled a TERF. Shocking from Oxfam. Now, Oxfam has deleted the video and they've put up a new one. They've removed the term TERF and apologised for the offence caused. Well, it's not just the term TERF that caused the offence. Oxfam insisted it was not supposed to be based on anyone. Yeah, right. And said it would re-release a cut version of the cartoon. Look, even if it wasn't intended to be J.K. Rowling, which I don't think anyone would believe them on, they still used the derogatory TERF label. Their intention is clear. Now, an international spokesperson from Oxfam said, Oxfam believes that all people should be able to make decisions which affect their lives, enjoy their rights, and live a life free of discrimination and violence, including people from LGBTQIA+ communities. In efforts to make an important point about the real harm caused by transphobia, we made a mistake. We have therefore edited the video to remove the term TERF, and we are sorry for the offence it caused. There was no intention by Oxfam or the filmmakers for this slide to have portrayed any particular person or people. We fully support both an individual's rights to hold their philosophical beliefs and a person's right to have their identity respected regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and sex characteristics. Well, that's very fine, but this tweet correctly says, in this opening scene of the updated video, Oxfam is saying we protect trans kids by supporting top surgery. Utterly despicable. And Maya Forster, who is co-founder and executive director of Sex Matters and is campaigning for clarity on sex and law and policy in the UK, tweeted, quote, demonising, safeguarding, demonising older women, promoting double mastectomies to children, bulk harassment of gender-critical staff. Now, interestingly, this article recently was also published, perhaps because of the furore over the video. And Oxfam was accused of hounding out a volunteer for defending J.K. Rowling. A former worker calling herself Maria said she was accused of transphobia before settling with the charity, which apologised for its handling of the process. And 3 years after joining the charity, she was promoted to coordinating role within the women's rights team, whose remit was to ensure that female equality was reflected in Oxfam's work. She realised almost immediately how impossible that aim would be, given the growing dominance of a pro-trans mindset within Oxfam. And along with many other charities and institutions that had capitulated to gender-based ideals, the article said, ones that asserts that trans women are women and that the categories of male and female are on a spectrum rather than biological realities. On the advice of Stonewall, the discredited charity whose workplace diversity scheme sought to recognise and celebrate the efforts of leading employers to advance LGBT inclusion, Oxfam advised its employees to state their pronouns in meetings and on correspondence. It was regularly using Stonewall material to advise staff on LGBTQ+ inclusion in the workplace, with a heavy emphasis on transgender ideology above all else. Now, while I was researching this, I came across this story, and Oxfam has been slammed for a bizarre new inclusive language guide that was issued to staff that warns against using a whole slew of normal words like stand, pregnant mother, and people, and even apologises for being written in English. The charity guide says that words like headquarters, local, have colonial implications and should be avoided, and staff were warned that people who become pregnant was preferable to expectant mothers, while parent is better than mother or father. And any words related to age like youth and the elderly were also better off avoided to allow people to remain dignified, according to the guide. So look, here's a couple of examples. People who menstruate. Women, girls, trans men and non-binary people who menstruate. Many of the negative social ideas around menstruation have a misogynist basis. Menstruation is also experienced by people who do not identify as a woman or a girl, apparently. In Oxfam's book, it says people who become pregnant. Using the term expectant mothers rather than pregnant women reinforces gender stereotypes and assumes that the woman in question wants to continue the pregnancy and will carry the pregnancy to term. Oh dear. So they're also keen on abortion as well. But it gets worse. Breastfeeding people. People who breastfeed. Not all people who breastfeed identify as women. For example, non-binary parents. And have you heard of AFAB and AMAB? AFAB? AMAB? Well, you have now. According to Oxfam, it's assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth. AFAB and AMAB. And it says, we avoid biological male, female, we avoid born male, female. And the start of the book even contains an apology to readers for being written in and about the English language. Quote, we recognise that this guide has its origin in English, the language of a colonising nation. We acknowledge the Anglo-supremacy of this sector as part of its coloniality. The guide says headquarters implies a colonial power dynamic. Aid sector cements ideology where an agent with resources gives support on a charitable basis, and field trip can reinforce colonial attitudes. Wow, who knew that? The charity came in for stinging criticism for the guide, with some observers telling Oxfam to focus on their core mission of alleviating poverty. Now, I did a quick check of the New Zealand chapter of Oxfam before recording this, just to see if this ideology had seeped onto their webpage. No evidence of it yet, but we will monitor it. Look, I will never tell you who to give your money to, but I'll certainly tell you about the ideology of organisations which may be harmful, just as we did recently with Amnesty International, so that you can give with both eyes open.